Hi, I'm Tricia, and I'll be reading you this week's The Barnstable Patriot, dated Friday, November 29th. And we lead off today with Cape Whale Rescuer Recalls Thanksgiving 40 years ago. 40 years ago, researchers with the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown were getting ready to sit down together for a turkey feast, but a certain whale in Cape Cod Bay had different plans for them. Receiving a report of a number of whales in the harbor, they abandoned their holiday plans and set out on what would turn out to be the first ever successful whale disentanglement, led by Center co-founder Charles Stormy Mayo and fellow scientist David Matilla. It was a pivotal moment that would lead to the creation of the Center's Marine Animal Entanglement Response Program. Today, the program is renowned worldwide for rescuing marine animals, particularly whales and sea turtles, from life-threatening entanglements in fishing gear. The story began on Thanksgiving Day in 1984, when the group was alerted to the presence of whales feeding and socializing in Provincetown Harbor. We wanted to audiotape the songs of the whales because we had discovered a couple of years before that they don't sing just in their tropical areas, but they started to sing up here, explained Mayo, recently recollecting that day. But their research was interrupted when they came across an old friend entangled in fishing gear that was hindering her movements, cutting deeply into her skin and preventing her from feeding. A humpback whale Mayo had first seen as a calf and had named Ibis because of a marking on her tail that resembled an ancient Egyptian ibis glyph. The whale had first been spotted that season by Mayo's then assistant, Carol Krill Carson, a few months earlier, tangled in gill nets. In mid-October, she had been found again near Gloucester Harbor, struggling to surface as her entanglement anchored her in place. All she could do was surge to the surface, grab a breath, and sink down, Mayo said. It was a pretty tense situation. The scientists, who had never attempted a disentanglement before, tried using floats to hold Ibis up so that she could breathe while they worked to help her. But her anchored entanglement exerted so much force that the floats kept tearing off, and eventually Ibis sank and didn't come up again. Everyone had assumed Ibis was dead when their sonar showed a large object on the ocean floor, but on Thanksgiving there was no mistaking the distinctive marking on her tail. At that moment, Mayo and Matilla and the others, also including Carson, Mary Pratt Havermale, Sharon Pittman, and Mark Gilmore, were faced with a challenge. They had no established disentanglement protocol and no specialized tools. Improvising, they used a grapple anchor tied to large plastic floats to slow Ibis down, allowing them to approach her. After hours of effort, they managed to cut away entangling net, saving her life. It was a turning point for the center, marking the beginning of techniques and strategies that they would develop over the next 4 decades to rescue more than 200 large whales and other marine animals. The work has been especially important for critically endangered North Atlantic right whales, which are often caught in fishing gear. These whales are powerful and difficult to free, but rescuing them means increasing the chances for their survival and reproduction. Philip Hamilton, a senior scientist at the New England Aquarium Anderson Cabot Center for Ocean Life, who previously also worked at the Center for Coastal Studies, praises the team's willingness to put themselves at risk, acknowledging the dangers inherent in whale disentanglement. It's important work, he said, particularly for endangered species like the right whales, for whom each rescued individual means one more animal surviving to reproduce. Hamilton has himself received training through the center to deploy telemetry gear on the entanglements of whales encountered in the field. The telemetry buoy is really a great component of the work they've developed, the ability for people who aren't on the disentanglement team to be able to tag the whales so that they can be found again for rescue purposes. Not every disentanglement is successful, Hamilton said, but it's always worth trying. The center's success has inspired global efforts. Matilla, who is also involved with the International Whaling Commission, helped establish the large network along the East Coast in 1996, has trained researchers worldwide, including Hawaii, and organized international workshops. The center's expertise is now sought after globally, with researchers from 34 countries attending training sessions on how to safely rescue entangled whales. Under the leadership of Scott Landry, who joined the program in 2002, the disentanglement team on Cape Cod continues to evolve. The basic principles of whale rescue remain the same, but the tools and techniques have advanced slightly, Mayo said. Today, the team uses an array of specialized equipment and cutting-edge telemetry to track and monitor entangled whales, making rescues safer and more effective. However, Hamilton also emphasizes that the work is only a stopgap. As Mayo has often said, put us out of business. Both scientists agree that the real solution lies in addressing the larger challenge, reducing the risk of entanglements in the first place. The disentanglement team, while committed to saving as many whales as possible, sees their work as a band-aid to a systemic problem. The number of whales that rescuers find entangled that can actually be freed is too low, Mayo said. The important thing is for us to realize that these guys, who I was one of, doing this sort of swashbuckling thing is not going to save the whales, he said. And continuing with the whale theme, our second article on the front page, whale seen in Cape Cod Canal was likely feeding. A humpback whale was sighted in the Cape Cod Canal on November 20th, near the eastern end of the scenic shortcut that connects Buzzards Bay to Cape Cod Bay. In an email to the Times, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Park Ranger Samantha Gray wrote that the whale was first seen around 2 p.m. and was last sighted as darkness fell. U.S. Army Corps personnel used a patrol boat to monitor the whale. There was no large vessel traffic in the canal during this time, wrote Gray. A fishing boat, who was informed of the presence of the humpback whale and its location, was permitted to pass with caution. While the approximately 15,000 vessels that use the canal each year constitute the vast majority of traffic, whales occasionally enter the picture. A North Atlantic right whale and a fin whale also made appearances this year in the eastern end of the canal, according to Gray. Gray estimated that several whales have been spotted in the canal each year over the past few years. In a phone interview, Gray said it was most likely that whales enter the canal while feeding. They follow the food, she said. Most whales leave the canal the way they came in, said Gray, but in rare circumstances, whales have been known to travel through the canal. In 2023, the canal was closed to vessel traffic for about 21 hours until two North Atlantic right whales spotted in and near the waterway cleared the area. In 2008, the canal was closed for more than 2 hours as a right whale swam from Cape Cod Bay to Buzzards Bay. And next up, Herring Pond, Wampanoag, granted state recognition. The Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe, headquartered in Plymouth, has been granted state recognition. Governor Maura Healey's office called Tribal Chairwoman Melissa Ferretti on November 15th. The news overwhelmed her with joy, Ferretti said. The executive order acknowledges what we already knew. It reaffirms our thousands of years of existence here, Ferretti said in an interview on November 18. Governor Healey made a promise to deal with indigenous issues, Ferretti said. She honored that promise and commitment. Healey officially granted state recognition on November 19th with Executive Order 637. Herring Pond is a distinct, cohesive, and autonomous tribal community that has existed in Massachusetts for centuries, according to a statement from Healey's office. Our administration deeply appreciates our strong ties with the indigenous tribes across our state, and this executive order gives Herring Pond Wampanoag the recognition they deserve, Healey said in a statement. The state's acknowledgement, said Ferretti, will allow Herring Pond to establish a formal and political relationship with state government, and will also enable Herring Pond to gain access to resources and opportunities essential for the welfare and prosperity of the tribe community. State recognition will lead to collaboration with state agencies in areas such as education, healthcare, conservation of natural resources, and economic development, said Ferretti. This isn't about money, power, or greed. It's about the basic survival and inherent rights of our people, said Ferretti. Herring Pond's tribal homelands range from Plymouth to Bourne and Sandwich in Barnstable County. There are about 200 active Herring Pond tribal citizens, Ferretti said. Ferretti, along with Herring Pond's Tribal Council, have been working towards state recognition since Ferretti became a member of the council in 2016, she said. At that time, we had very little resources available to the tribe. We were literally passing a hat around to collect money to sustain ourselves, said Ferretti. In the past, we were too proud to ask for money or for help, but that's what motivated us to work toward formal state recognition. Because Herring Pond isn't state recognized, the tribe has often been denied services from the state and from other tribal service organizations that required tribes to have state or federal recognition. But after conducting research, including interviewing tribe elders and compiling documents into evidence binders to prove Herring Pond's history, Ferretti and tribal citizens Karina Silva and Jamie Hochter submitted a letter and petition to Healey's office on May 20. In the letter, the tribe asked Healy's office to sign a proposed executive order that would formally acknowledge Herring Pond. In the letter, which Ferretti provided to the Times, the tribe said it has maintained a continuous presence with a government that predates the establishment of the American colonies, the state, and the U.S. We stand alone as the sole tribe with unceded lands in the towns of Plymouth and Bourne, said Ferretti in the letter. In the letter, Ferretti said that the tribe's acknowledgement within the Commonwealth is not just a procedural step. It signifies a vital moment for the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe to receive equitable treatment and ensure the survival of our culture, Ferretti wrote. Herring Pond is the second tribe to be granted recognition by the state, said Ferretti. The Hassanamisko Nupmuc Band, native to central Massachusetts, northeastern Connecticut, and parts of Rhode Island, was granted state recognition under Executive Order 126, issued by Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis in 1976. Herring Pond should have been included under that executive order, said Silva. I don't know why that happened or what the terms of that order were, said Silva, but we took the steps to be part of that order, and we were successful. This is a really good feeling. State acknowledgement won't provide the same legal benefits or federal funding as federally recognized tribes like the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe and the Wampanoag tribe of Gay Head, said Ferretti. But it offers a pathway toward federal recognition, she said. Mashpee Tribe Chairman Brian Whedon and the Aquinnah Wampanoag Tribe Chairwoman Cheryl Andrews Maltese expressed their support for Healy's decision. We're thrilled for our cousins in the Herring Pond tribe that the Commonwealth has officially recognized their ancestors' perseverance in remaining on ancestral lands. Whedon said this in a statement from Healy's office. The benefits of a government-to-government relationship will extend to future generations of tribal citizens, and the Herring Pond tribe's ability to sustain a healthy relationship with the land and the water. In a letter addressed to the Healy administration, provided to Ferretti, Andrews Maltese noted that Herring Pond has been continuously recognized by other local, state, and federally recognized tribes, as well as the surrounding community. Herring Pond was also documented as a historic tribe, she said in a letter. The possibilities for other tribes to be recognized by the state are there, said Ferretti. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a real state recognition process that could bring legislation and pave the way for other legitimate tribes that are struggling, said Ferretti. We are setting a precedent for other tribes to get recognition if they fit the criteria. Ferretti said she would be open to collaborating with the state to establish a formal process for state recognition. For now, she's just enjoying this moment. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, she said. It's been a long road, a lot of ups and downs, but we never gave up. We've achieved this important mission for us and the ancestors. And the final article on the front page of the Barnstable Patriot, Lady of the Dunes case in new 3-hour documentary. Last month, Richard Hanchett came to Provincetown to dedicate a headstone with an image of his mother, Ruth Marie Terry. Inscribed on the stone are the years of her birth and death, along with the name Lady of the Dunes. I just placed the stone there in Provincetown, and I invited everybody involved, Hanchett said in a telephone interview with the Cape Cod Times. Father Phil blessed the new stone. 2 years ago, Hanchett, 65, of Waterford, Michigan, didn't know who his biological mother was. Now he knows the communities that shepherded her in life, growing up in a coal mining town of Whitwell, Tennessee, and in death here on Cape Cod, where her body was found in the dunes of Provincetown in 1974. A new documentary, Lady of the Dunes, Hunting a Cape Cod Killer, looks at the decades-long investigation of the unidentified woman and how the mystery coincided with Hanchett's quest to find his birth mother. The 2-hour premiere of the documentary begins at 8 p.m. Friday, November 29th, and it concludes at 9 p.m. Saturday, November 30th, on Oxygen True Crime Network. The show will be available for streaming later on Peacock, said Crystal Wheeler of NBC Universal Television and Streaming. The 3-hour documentary, producers said, airs new details about the investigation, including the most extensive allegations that contaminated DNA samples and lost physical evidence from the crime scene. It also includes extensive on-camera interviews from Provincetown detectives working the case, including Meredith Labor, who said the Lady of the Dunes work killed her career. When she first started working in Provincetown, Labor said in the documentary, "I went to the grave and promised her I would get her name back and get her family back to her." Terry was identified by the Boston FBI office on October 31st, 2022. Labor retired 9 months later. Hanchett's long search for his birth mother is detailed in the documentary. In last week's interview with the Cape Cod Times, he recalled his awkward encounter with FBI agents who notified him on Halloween 2 years ago that they had found his mother. "I was under the assumption my mom was alive," Hanchett said. "But they said, no, she died a long time ago." Hanchett said he went home and Googled Lady of the Dunes and was stunned by the masses of information that came pouring back. He couldn't immediately comprehend, he said, that his DNA linked him, showing this woman was his mother. Learning how his mother died, Hanchett said, helped him make sense of a recurring dream he had of a hairy man hitting a woman in the head from behind. Terry died with a crushing blow to the head. Her hands were removed, hindering identification until DNA matching evolved. Her husband, Guy Moldovan, was officially named as her killer on August 28, 2023. "I don't think people necessarily realize she had 2 sets of family, her biological son and her family in Tennessee who were looking for her. And I don't think people living in Provincetown knew how hard the police were trying to identify her," said Maja Norris, showrunner and one of the documentary's executive producers. A documentary delves into how shaken the community of Provincetown was by the Lady of Dunes, found just 5 years after serial killer Tony Costa's killing field was uncovered in nearby Truro. It looks at how investigators thought a young woman who was active in Boston and South Shore criminal underworld might have been their unidentified victim. After his mother's remains were identified, Hanchett reached out to her family. He attended a reunion with 55 members of the Terry family and has stayed in touch with some of them. His anger at Moldavin bubbles up at times, such as when filling out Terry's death certificate, he wanted to list her cause of death as serial killer. He doesn't understand, Hanchett said, how his mother could marry this man who was already a suspect in the deaths of his former wife and stepdaughter. The documentary's co-producer said Moldavin's death in 2002 left many people unable to get answers that would bring closure. But Hanchett has set out to give his mother a proper farewell. With $2,155 raised in a GoFundMe, including $1,000 from a fundraiser by medium Lauren Robbins, with whom Hanchett has been working, Hanchett purchased the third stone for St. Peter's Cemetery in Provincetown. During his visit last month, Hanchett said he scattered some of her ashes in the dunes where her body was found. In the next few weeks, he will travel to Whitewell, Tennessee, to scatter the last of her ashes in her native mountains and have a memorial bench dedicated to Terry, whom her family described as a free spirit. She was in Massachusetts for 50 years waiting for me to come, and I just didn't feel comfortable taking her from there, Hanchett said. Ironically, after 4 exhumations, there was more of his mother in the Massachusetts Medical Examiner's office than there was on the ground in Provincetown, he said, so I was able to have those parts of her cremated. Norris said folks at Oxygen True Crime, like many around the country, had watched the Lady of Dunes case for years before she was even identified. You don't usually get that level of interest in a case that has been cold for so long, Norris said. There were people all over the country who never forgot about her, and the perseverance paid off. And we move to Firm creates Plymouth Rock replica in English Village. Most people have probably never heard of Scrooby, a small English village in North Nottinghamshire. But this town of just a few hundred residents has an important connection to U.S. history. William Brewster, an organizer of the Plymouth Voyage on the Mayflower, who later became senior elder and religious leader of the Plymouth colony, grew up in Scrooby. William Bradford, another noted Mayflower passenger who became governor of the Plymouth colony, also spent some of his childhood in the English village. The link between Scrooby and the U.S. was recently strengthened with the unveiling of a sculpture of Plymouth Rock. DGT Associates, a Boston-based surveying and engineering firm, was chosen to perform the scans of the iconic monument. The scans served as the blueprint for British artist Mike Johnson to create the sculpture. I got a voice message in August 2022 from a guy with a British accent, said Michael Clifford, principal DGT, which also has offices in Framingham, Worcester, and Mystic, Connecticut. He said he was from Scrooby Parish Council. Clifford called back and spoke with Ed Marshall, then the council's president. He was on the 400-year committee working with Plymouth on the anniversary of the Pilgrim's Landing, Clifford said. He explained that people from the U.S. would visit Scrooby, especially descendants of the Pilgrims, and that Scrooby had little to show them. Michael told Clifford that he had hoped to have some sort of exhibit in Scrooby that honored the tie to the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. The concept they came up with was to create an exact replica of Plymouth Rock, Clifford said. DGT agreed to the project, even donating its services. It seemed like fun, Clifford said. After getting an access permit from the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, which manages Plymouth Rock, Clifford and his team went to work. The DCR was very trusting of our team, which we appreciated, he said. We had explained what we planned to do. They even loaned us a ladder. The team dropped the ladder over the face and climbed down. Our equipment is very portable, Clifford said. On a personal level, Clifford said it was kind of neat to be in there with the rock. It's on a sort of concrete platform with sand around it, he said. With the iron bars, it felt like being in those old cages at the zoo. The scanning took place on a cold weekday in October 2022, so there were not a lot of people milling around until a school bus pulled up and a bunch of middle school students suddenly provided an audience. It was one of those kinds of unique experiences, being with such a famous thing, and we had our hands on it, Clifford said. The DGT team used LIDAR, which is light detection and ranging, a remote sensing method to scan Plymouth Rock and produce a 3D model. It's very precise, so it's often used for design and construction, Clifford explained. The technology is a bit complex, but it's becoming more user-friendly. Eventually, everything will be laser scanned. DGT has used laser scanning for artists previously, including scans of Boston City Hall and of the John Harvard statue at Harvard University. After reviewing the scans, DGT sent them electronically to Johnson, who used them to make a full-scale bronze sculpture of Plymouth Rock. Mr. Marshall stayed in touch with us and gave us notice when the sculpture was done, Clifford said. They invited us to visit this past September when they had the unveiling, but unfortunately we could not attend. It's definitely on my list to go over and see. Clifford feels a sense of pride at having been involved with the sculpture, which he says is clean and shiny and you can walk right up to it. There is an array around it that has the names of the Mayflower passengers. This creative connection between Scooby and Plymouth is important, Clifford said. The Pilgrims were really the start of European life in America, he said. And now it's like we took the rock that they landed on, magically made a 3D twin of it, and sent it through the airwaves back to where the whole thing started. And moving on, why are Cape Community College instructors, staff, seeking more pay? Cape Cod Community College faculty and staff gathered November 20th near the entrance of the college's campus in West Barnstable with blue posters, buttons, shirts, and hats all covered with the words, "Fair Pay for Community College Educators." The contract standout at the Cape College comes as the Massachusetts Community College Council, the statewide union representing the 15 colleges, returned to the bargaining table that day seeking a more than 70% increase in salaries for faculty and staff. Equity studies done by various researchers, including the Massachusetts Teachers Association, show that average faculty salaries in Massachusetts are more than 70% lower than states with comparable cost of living, like California. Claudine Barnes, a professor at the Cape Cod College and president of the statewide union, said at a Zoom webinar the night before the protest. "We need and deserve more from the state of Massachusetts," Barnes said. The goal of the standout on Cape Cod was to raise awareness about the union's goals and advocate for an investment in the faculty and staff amid the start of Mass Educate, the state's free community college program, according to Jessica Jordan, the technical services librarian at the college's Wilkins Library. The Cape Cod Community College Association, the college's union, participates in standouts every few years if funding for their contract falls behind, said Michael Betchlich, a business professor and president of the college's union chapter. But Jordan said Wednesday's standout would be an unusual moment because the college has seen a 25% increase in student enrollment since the free community college program began without increased funding for educators. "It's a historical change that we're hoping to achieve," said Jordan, a union member. The statewide community college union is also seeking an increase in full-time staffing in certain college departments, including enrollment, advising, administrative support, and technology, along with workload improvements, according to union documents. In September, Cape Cod Community College had to shut down their application portal because of the increase in applications and a need for more supplemental staffing, said Patrick Stone, the college's director of strategic communications and marketing, in an October interview. Stone, who planned to attend the standout, said in a statement on Wednesday that faculty and staff at the community college deserve commensurate pay compared to our counterparts across the country. At the Tuesday webinar, state legislators joined members of the statewide union as they spoke about the wage crisis affecting faculty and staff at the community colleges. Given these circumstances, we are demanding that the state pay us what we deserve and ensure a sustainable community college system, Barnes, the Cape professor and statewide union president, said. Community colleges need legislative support because current salaries have not kept up with the cost of living in the state, and colleges fail to retain many faculty and staff because they can't afford to work in a community college in Massachusetts, Barnes said. Not only do we deserve more, our students deserve more, Barnes said. Students in the community colleges, many of whom are from underserved populations, deserve enough faculty and staff who are paid well enough to not have 2 or 3 or 4 jobs and to have the time and the energy to actually support them. Joe Nardoni, the vice president of the statewide union and professor at Middlesex Community College, said the current salaries for faculty and staff threaten the success of the Mass Educate program, the Mass Reconnect program, free community college for adults over 25 without a college degree, and the Success programs, tutoring services for STEM students. Too many students can't find classes, Nardoni said. Colleges have had to close classes because there weren't enough professors to teach them, he said. The Commonwealth can afford to pay a 70% increase, State Representative Carmine Gentile of Concord said at the Tuesday meeting. Community college faculty, adjunct faculty, have been underpaid for decades, he said. State Senator Michael Brady of Brockton, who worked at the grant program at Massasoit Community College in Brockton before joining the legislature, said he plans on working with both legislators and Brockton community members to discuss the wage issue. And we move to dolphins rescued across Cape Cod as strandings continue. The International Fund for Animal Welfare says it rescued 10 dolphins that were stranded across 5 towns on Cape Cod on November 9th. The team first got reports at 6:30 a.m. and responded to 8 strandings between Dennis and Wellfleet before noon. An additional 4 dolphins died before the team arrived, and 2 others died soon after. The efforts began at Ellis Landing Beach in Brewster. By 8 a.m., 2 more common dolphins were found stranded at C Street Beach in Dennis, though neither survived. Within the hour, another dolphin was reported stranded at First Encounter Beach in Eastham, 2 more at Crow's Pasture in Dennis, 4 more at Herring River Gut in Wellfleet, 2 at Mayo Beach, and 1 at Skakit Beach in Orleans, according to a press release. High winds, cold weather, challenging surf, and the large size of the animals all contributed to a strenuous response with obstacles at every turn, Kira Casper, biologist and animal rescue responder at IFA, said in a statement. With multiple strandings at different locations, every moment counts. Experts believe the dolphins may be from the same pod. The dolphins were released to deeper waters in Herring Cove Beach in Provincetown. Cape Cod sees more live stranded dolphins than anywhere else in the world, and 2024 continues to be a historic high, according to IFA. And now for a little bit of entertainment. Love holidays and histories? Falmouth's Highfield Hall bookmarks the past. Did you ever read a book so magical that you just wanted to step into the pages and live in that world for a while? Highfield Hall and Gardens has bookmarked a place for you. The theme of this year's 18th annual Holidays at Highfield celebration is Timeless Tales, a Literary Journey. It runs most weekends from November 22 through December 15th. Holiday decorations in each room of the 19th century Falmouth home are taken from the pages of a book that Beebe family would have been reading aloud together or giving as a holiday gift. I wanted to pick something relevant to the house and the original owners. The Beebe family had a tradition at Christmas of giving books to people in the community, said Sarah Pring, a floral designer and event stager who volunteers at Highfield Hall and Gardens. For her second year of decorating Highfield for the holidays, Pring turned to the family's historical records. They had a list of people, books, and the price, Pring said of the Beebe family's gift list. It's lovely having a different book per room and creating a vignette that lets you step into the book. One room has a Christmas tree crafted with folded pages from Alice in Wonderland. There is a trunk in which visitors are asked to place a luggage tag with their favorite childhood book. We are asking people to reflect on the book from their childhood that stayed with them and why, Pring said. There is also a room to make arts and crafts. Books in the exhibit come from around the world, including Alice in Wonderland and The Secret Garden from England, Little Women from the U.S., Pinocchio from Italy, and Swiss Family Robinson from Switzerland. It's lovely having a different book per room and creating a vignette that lets you step into that book, Pring said, admitting that she did stray from the late 1800s time frame for one book. I cheated a little and brought in a book from the 1950s with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe to bring people into the mansion, Pring said of C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. That image never leaves you. I never opened a wardrobe since reading the book without reaching into the back for a secret door in case Narnia is there. What are some things to do during the holidays at Highfield? There will be a reading room for children, an arts and crafts room, a display of creches with new ones added each year, a gift shop for holiday presents, and outside on the porch, a small market. There will also be live music. We like to fill the mansion with music as well as laughter, said Tara Burke, co-director of Highfield Hall and Gardens. When is Holidays at Highfield and how to get tickets? Highfield Hall at 56 Highfield Drive in Falmouth is closed in the winter but opens for the annual Holidays at Highfield, which runs from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. November 22 to 24, November 29 to 30, December 1st, December 5th through 8th, and December 12th through the 15th. Tickets are $20, $15 for members, free for children and those with military IDs. Pre-register through highfieldhallandgardens.org, although tickets are also sold at the door. Train service from Boston to Falmouth started in the 1870s, bringing wealthy businessmen like James Madison Beebe to the Cape, Burke said. The Beebe family started with a farm in downtown Falmouth, but built Highfield in 1878. They call it Highfield because it was just fields and you could actually see the ocean from here. Much of the acreage was donated to the town of Falmouth, to Falmouth Hospital, and non-profit groups like the Cape Symphony with deed restrictions that prevent development, she said. We lease this land from the town and maintain these 6 acres with the house, gardens, trails, picnicking areas, and a new ADA pathway, Burke said, noting that 100 volunteers help care for the grounds and guest services. And finally, lots to do on the Cape, from tree lightings to Santa visits, your guide to holiday events. There's nothing like Christmas on Cape Cod. This holiday season is stacked with plenty to do for everyone in the family, whether you're into village strolls and parades or indoor shows and treats. You're sure to find something you'll enjoy. And don't forget about Santa. The big guy will make the rounds on trucks, carts, boats, and his own 2 boots to greet fans of all ages. From the lighting of the village green in Falmouth to the colorful lobster pot tree in Provincetown, the Cape will be aglow this season with a festive vibrancy you don't want to miss. Here's a peek at some activities, old and new, that are in store for this holiday celebration. The Mashpee Tree Lighting Ceremony, a free event, 3:30 to 5, November 29th. The tree in the plaza outside of Sienna Restaurant in Mashpee Commons will be lit. Free mini donuts from Duke's Donut Works, face painting, holiday caroling, a brass band, and an appearance by Santa will be included. Santa will also make an appearance in Santa's Village at 41 Steeple Street beside the Pottery Barn from 1 to 4 p.m. November 29th through December 22. Cape Cod Christmas Market. Every Saturday and Sunday through November 15th, check out local artisans, gourmet delights, and entertainment at the Knockabout Beer Garden at the Mashpee Commons Village Green. A very vineyard holiday, Martha's Vineyard. Local venues across Martha's Vineyard will feature different happenings, starting with Light Up Oak Bluffs on November 30th. For information, go to mvy.com/holidays. 15th Annual Glassblowers Christmas in Sandwich. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. through December 30th at the Sandwich Glass Museum, 129 Street, $3 to $14. For information, call 508-888-0251 or go to sandwichglassmuseum.org. Holidays at Highfield in Falmouth, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Friday through Sunday until December 1st. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, December 5th through 15th. Spectacular decorations and seasonal activities in the historic mansion at Highfield Hall, 56 Highfield Drive, Falmouth. $15 to $20. Children and military are free. The Polar Express train ride, Buzzards Bay. Families are all aboard to visit Santa at the North Pole via Cape Cod Central Railroad. 2 p.m., 4:30 p.m., 6 p.m., and 7 p.m. weekends and varied weekdays through December 23rd. It departs the Buzzards Bay Depot at 70 Main Street. It's $54 to $360. Reservations are required. The Birth of Rock and Roll with a Holiday Twist in Cotuit. Series of concerts focusing on rock and roll of the 50s and 60s with a festive twist. Runs Thursdays through Sundays through December 22. Times vary depending on the day. Spectacle of Trees in Hyannis, a showcase of different trees with an opportunity to win one, recurring daily 12 to 6 p.m. through December 12th at Geyer Art Barn, 250 South Street, Hyannis. Sweet-tacular Soiree on Gingerbread Lane in Hyannis. Artist Holiday Market, a visit with Santa, holiday music, and more, November 29th and 30th, 11 to 3, Harbor Overlook, Hyannis. The Canteen Holiday Market in Provincetown, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., weekend days vary, November 29th through December 29th at 225 Commercial Street, Provincetown. For information, call 508-487-3800. Local artisan wares are on sale at local vendors' outdoor market. Lighting of the Lobster Pot Tree in Provincetown, a holiday tradition that started in 2004, featuring a tree made of real lobster traps, held at 5:30 p.m. November 30th at Lopes Square, which is Commercial and Standish Street in Provincetown. Santa's Workshops in Chatham. Meet Santa and participate in holiday activities at Chatham Bars Inn, December 7th, 1 to 2:30 p.m. It's for children ages 4 to 10, $75 each. Winter Wonderland at Beacon Gardens, December 1st, 12 to 5 p.m. Ornament decorating, wreath making, hot cocoa, and a visit from Santa all takes place for free at this Beacon Gardens event. Boxwood Tree Workshop, December 1st, 1 p.m. Katri Mahalali of Sisakat Designs will be at the Osterville Village Library in the main meeting room with a Boxwood Tree Workshop, $55 to reserve a place. Project Forward Community Holiday Market, December 5th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Project Forward will host the holiday market featuring crafts, baked goods, and gifts created by students and staff in the program that provides students with intellectual disabilities the opportunity to gain and maintain vocational skills at 4Cs, free and open to the public. Holly Folly in Provincetown. Holly Folly, described by organizers as the nation's original LGBTQ and holiday celebration, began in 1997 as a way for chosen family to gather and celebrate the holidays with performance art, dining, and holiday shopping. There is also a Jingle Bell Run and champagne brunch. Second annual Hyannis Holiday starts at 5 p.m. December 6th with Sip and Shop when local businesses stay open late for an evening of after-hours shopping. Hyannis Main Street will feature holiday lights, music, lighting of the nautical-themed display at 5:30 p.m. with a guest appearance by Santa at the top of Hyannis Village Green, followed by a community holiday sing. It continues December 7th at 10 a.m. with an 11th annual Holiday Love Local Fest featuring over 120 local makers, brands, and food vendors on the Hyannis Village Green. For kids, there will be petting zoo, pony rides, holiday games, and more. Santa arrives by fire truck at noon, ready for visits and photos at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Hyannis Boat Parade with festivities starts at 4, so that's December 7th. And windmill lighting in Brewster, Christmas tree and windmill lighting with caroling and cocoa, 4 to 7 p.m. December 6th at Drummer Boy Park. Christmas fair at St. Barnabas Episcopal Church. St. Barnabas Episcopal Church will host a Christmas fair December 7th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., featuring handcrafted items, baked goods, a raffle, and more. Merry Market tree lighting and fireworks in Harwich. Wauquosit Resort and Golf Club will offer vendors market, tree lighting with Santa, and fireworks beginning at 11 a.m. and going through 5 p.m. on December 7th. Sandwich Community Carol Sing, December 6th at 7 p.m., rain date December 8th on the steps of the First Church in Sandwich. And finally, Artastic Holiday Party at Cahoon Museum in Cotuit. The event will feature holiday hors d'oeuvre making demonstration with caterer and TV personality Jerry DuPont. Create your own hot chocolate, cookie decorating, and more. 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. December 12th at the Cahoon Museum of American Art in Cotuit. And that's all I have time for today. This is your reader, Tricia, saying thanks for listening.